Welcome, Unprofessionals, to episode 58, Liz Gallo. This episode is brought to you by your state's COVID-19 vaccine rollout. The vaccine rollout, like a radio contest, but sadder. If we bring up anything in this podcast that you didn't understand, please leave a comment. We'll get back to you. We have free time. It's why we have a podcast. But please share this out, share with your friends, share with your coworkers. Maybe your admin, if they're cool. All right, enjoy Liz Gallo.
Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member, and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with the advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
And please put unprofessional development in the how did you hear about Podgo? That will give us a little finder's fee. Thank you.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an exciting episode of Unprofessional Development. I'm Tedesco.
And I'm Mealy. And today we have with us Liz Gallo from Whymaker. Or is it Gallo? Did I say it wrong?
Gallo.
Gallo? It's not Pico de Gallo? Okay.
Pico de Gallo.
Okay. She's from Whymakers, and we're going to kind of get into what Whymakers is because you'll find out why, and we'll make you wait for a little bit more on that. Thank you. I'm full speed ahead today, Tedesco.
No.
But yes. So anyway,
I'm great. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. We're glad to have you here. So her writing prompt or talking prompt is describe your journey through the world of education like a DIY YouTuber.
Yeah. So I had to research what a DIY YouTuber sounds like. There are no scripts that I could find online. So I had this great idea to be a teacher. The idea was actually inspired by my mom, who said, just go to school to be a teacher. So I thought about it, and said, okay. So in order to go to school to be a teacher, I had to go to college. And that was the first step in my process. So I went to the College of New Jersey, and I was testing out this program called Biology and Elementary Education. And as I'm testing this program, I'm sitting in these classes thinking like, I have no idea what's going on. This isn't going to work out. So someone bumped into me and told me about a math, science, technology, elementary education, program. And I was like, that sounds interesting. Let's try that out. So that was my second experiment, the math, science, technology, elementary education, program at the College of New Jersey. And when I got into that program, all the light bulbs went off. Aha! Yes, this is it. This is how we should be teaching our children. So after I graduated, I got a master's degree in math, science, technology, elementary education again, because I loved it and knew I should be teaching. Then I loved it so much, I continued with this experiment and started teaching. I started teaching in one school, taught kindergarten through 8th grade, technology education.
Wow.
Then went to another school and taught 6th through 8th grade technology and computers. And then I taught special ed and technology to kids with special needs. And then finished up teaching 6th grade technology education in a public school in New York State. And then the aha moment. Someone said to me, all these people influencing my process here, someone said to me, I need help designing and building a makerspace in my school. And I said, if one person needs help designing and building a makerspace, many people need help designing and building a makerspace. So now I had a new hypothesis. How many people need help designing and building a makerspace? So I started Whymaker.
quick time out. I apologize. Can you define makerspace for us? Like, what exactly do you mean there?
Yeah. So a makerspace is typically what it is a classroom or a space where there are lots of technology tools, and there are things like 3D printers, laser engravers, electronics equipment, robotic systems, and like craft supplies. So pipe cleaners and glue and tape and scissors. And it's a place where kids can go and create and make solutions to problems. And they can be in schools or they can be in community centers.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. So my hypothesis about helping schools design and build these spaces, I got out there and I started on this mission of figuring this out, and quickly realized from input from other people that my teaching skills, my 10 plus years of teaching technology and special ed, were way more valued than my ability to decorate a classroom with expensive stuff. So really, Whymaker was born then, when I decided to do professional development for teachers in STEM and Maker Ed.
Okay. So you kind of pivoted, as the entrepreneurs say, from like, I'm going to design you a space to I'm going to teach you how to design a space and how to use a space. Is that kind of?
Yeah. I'm going to teach you how to teach in this problem solving, design thinking, project-based learning way. And then if you want to use technologies, we can add that in.
Okay.
First, we start with the teaching and the learning, and then we switch to adding in stuff.
Okay. So, and I'm sure you know all this stuff, and I'm sure some people already know this stuff, but it's nice to just kind of like talk about it and kind of dig down into the details. So I think we kind of understand what Whymaker is, but what's the value behind them making stuff? Like, why can't we just like print off some worksheets that we got from Teachers Pay Teachers and just, or hand them the textbook that my district bought 17 years ago and just teach like that? It was good enough for grandma and me. Why isn't it good enough for these kids?
Right. So, so one of my favorite, correlations here is when you go to interview and get a job at Google, the first thing they do with their new hires is take them into a class and tell them, forget everything you learned in school.
Wow.
Done.
Good. That was before I even got into this room.
Yeah, exactly. Here at Google, we want you to be creative, problem solvers, innovators. We want you to collaborate. And we want you to be able to figure stuff out and make the world a better place. And, hearing that as a teacher makes my heart sink. Like, what do you mean we're not teaching our kids how you want them to be?
Right.
And you instantly take them and tell them forget everything they learned in school. And when we're doing hands-on project-based design thinking work, kids are doing what Google wants them to do. Yeah. Right? Coming up with solutions, creating, being innovative, being empathetic about the people around them, problem solving, working as a team. And, that's what we try to focus and teach at Whymaker, is like building this conversation for our kids so that they can go into careers and hit the ground running.
That's going to help us a lot when Google buys America and owns the world.
That's true. Right. When we all work for Google. We just live in the United States of Google, right?
All hail Google.
Professional development brought to you this week by Google. Anyway, thank you.
But so much about education is built to be like a cookie cutter education, right? Like it's built to teach kids to stay quiet and don't ask questions and just do what everybody else is doing. And yeah, it doesn't really properly prepare them for jobs that are going to ask them to think outside the box and be creative and express themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not just Google. It's every company.
Right.
Every job you go into, you are creating, problem solving, collaborating all day long. Nothing that adults do looks like a typical school day.
Right.
Nowhere in the real world. And it's really frustrating to me.
Yes. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And it's challenging. I try and I'm not doing like major, I don't have a makerspace, but I teach, and I think this concept is barely seeping into schools at this point. It's better than it was maybe like a year or two ago or 3 years ago, but I feel like it's nowhere near where it needs to be. It's not pervasive. And I get kids, I teach math, and I'm teaching high school math. So by the time they get to be 16 or 17 years old, when you say this is what we're going to do, there is such a, like, they have been so indoctrinated, for lack of a better word, that might sound a little strong, but is to like, no. I want you to like do a problem on the board, and then I'll do one just like that, and then you give me some notes next to that problem, and I'm like, no, how about I actually like give you a problem and I don't tell you how to solve it, or I give you this other thing. You know, I use Desmos. Are you familiar with Desmos? Mm-hmm. You know? And I'm like, here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to like graph a line or a parabola. Why don't you come up with a picture that you're going to make and make it on Desmos, and let's learn how different equations make different shapes. And now, you know, I had a kid make Mike from Monsters Inc., and some other kid made like an owl where the wings flap, and and like once they finally got into it and they got less scared of like, I'm like, I said, it has an undo button. I said, just whatever you do, you just click undo. Well, I don't know how to do this. Why? No, you don't know how to do this. That's why you're trying.
A lot of the education system also prepares kids to be nervous about wrong answers.
Yes.
Right? Which really stifles creativity. And so I've had a lot of situations where I'll ask kids to express themselves because, I teach English, and they'll ask me for a sentence starter. I'm like, well, sometimes you don't get one. Like, sometimes you have to start your own sentence, and they don't even know where to begin. Yeah. So, let me ask this question.
Here's your sentence starter. Thank you.
So here's where I get nervous. So, like, if I was creating a project in class, right, and I wanted to create, like, give them a creative option, I always know there are going to be kids who run to me who don't know where to start, or who start something and then run into a big roadblock and feel like they failed. So, like, do you see any value in, like, kids messing up? So, like, if a kid has started a project and is messed up on it, or it just totally goes sideways, like, what do you say to that kid then?
Mm-hmm. At Whymaker and in Miss Gallo's classroom, we do not believe in failure. It's not a thing, right? As people, if something doesn't go right, we pick ourselves up and we go in a different direction. We overcome that. We make a U-turn. But there's no such thing as failure. Like, to me, you're just lying down on the floor and you're dead. Like, there's always, we can always correct. And, that's really common in technology classes where kids are like, my light bulb doesn't turn on. My robot doesn't move. I failed. And I would always tell them, I have this amazing book, which is, it's about failed art and art like that went wrong. So like a bug on a surveillance, like a weather surveillance camera. And like they take that photo and it's funny, but it's failed photography.
Right.
So I give them that book and I said, read a quote out of this book and then go back to work. Cause there's no such thing as failure. Right. So just figure out what went wrong. Like, let's do it together. That's what I'm here for as your facilitator, is to help you figure out how to overcome this. And that's okay. That's going to happen in the real world. So let's get comfortable with that now and figure out how to move on.
Okay, cool. And I do think that and that's something I, like, and because the next time that the light bulb doesn't go on, have you seen, like, them help each other or to learn from their mistakes, and how does that, like, as you go throughout the class, what do you see kind of like the progression of that, and how does that give us like kind of a little for instance, I guess?
Yeah, so as sometimes things don't go right and we feel stuck. This is the same for kids and adults. There's nothing different here. Sometimes we feel stuck. We're like, we don't know what to do. We can't figure it out. We have no idea. And really what we need, our brains need a little bit of a break. So I tell kids when they're at that like frustration level, stop thinking about it, go take a walk, go jumping jacks, take a break. Even if you just want to like spend the rest of the class period like drawing or doing something else, I'm fine with that because you're at a point where you're so frustrated you can't move on. Come back tomorrow, relaxed, ready to try again. Usually that helps, and that's okay. Another great strategy we teach teachers, and I've used in my class, is homogeneous grouping within a heterogeneous class. Okay. So, if classes have a variety of levels in them, as every class does, take kids of the same abilities and group them together.
Right.
So we have, I hate this term, but like lower level, lower end students and then like higher level students, and group them together. So lower kids with lower kids, higher kids with higher kids. And what happens is particularly the greatest results are with the lower end kids, right? They, like someone becomes a leader where usually they're the wallflower. Right. Usually they sit back in their chair and let the high flyers do something.
Yes.
So they're a leader. They're into it. They're, engaged. And what I tell them is this is the challenge that is set forth. You just need to meet this and we're going to do it together. So as a teacher, you spend more time with that group. You give them different modifications and accommodations and help them be successful. Yeah. And then those higher end kids, now we have a group where 3 people who are typically the leaders are working together. Right. And now we have to get these kids to learn how to work together and not be the leader. So it's a whole different skill set as a teacher.
Yeah, they don't have to learn how to make the light bulb go on. They have to learn how to back off and let someone else connect something. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and those are great skills to teach those kids as well, because that's not something they've ever experienced before. And then when we group kids like that, we see them overcoming failure together and learning from each other and being incredibly successful. And that's kind of just what we want from our kids, is just to have success.
Yeah.
Awesome. Homogeneous. That's the missing link between humans and chimpanzees, right?
It is homogeneous. Yes. Okay. Yes. It's somewhere, I think, Southeast Asia. That's where, Dr. Leakey found, homogeneous.
Oh, that makes sense.
Oh boy.
You said about getting frustrated walking away though, because that's how I take care of the crossword puzzle too.
Yes. Sudoku. It's good
walk
stuff.
Away, and then you come back and you're like, oh, it's Bridgerton.
Nice. But no, there's something, I heard someone say something, I listened to 8,000 podcasts, by the way, but, it's one called No Stupid Questions, and it's got, Stephen, Dubner from, Freakonomics fame. I don't know if you know who that is or not. Nice. And, the Grit Lady, whatever her name, Duckworth, the Grit Lady is on there. They co-host. But,
there's gotta be a better superhero name for her.
The Grit Lady? Don't go me there. That always takes me back to How I Met Your Mother and my favorites part. We're going off on a tangent. Okay, buckle up. Okay, so there's an episode of How I Met Your Mother where oh God, what's the one that's the shorter girl that's always with the same guy, not the one that's on and off with the other guys. Anyway,
Lily and Marshall.
So Lily and Ted apparently met at a mixer, and Ted had been eating a lot of sandwiches, as the thing goes. If you're a How I Met Your Mother fan, yes. And anyway.
They were in college, yeah.
They were in college, and this is before Lily and Marshall were boyfriend and girlfriend, and they were both intoxicated and didn't realize it. But apparently they made out at that party, and they've both told stories about this to Marshall, referencing someone else that they didn't realize was the other person.
I'm How does this connect to Grit Lady?
So they go to Marshall, and and Ted goes. First Lily goes, "I'm unreasonably small mouth girl," and Ted goes, "I'm way too much tongue guy." And then Barney goes, "Worst superhero names ever." But anyway, I had to share
that short pier.
So Stephen Dubner and Angela Duckworth.
transitions are hard. Moving on.
Yes, are talking, and the point was, and this, but our brain works like this. It's just to stepping away. That some things just need to simmer, and sometimes we're like cooking something, and we just need to okay, let's just put this on the back burner and let it simmer for a while, rather than trying to chop and stir and all of that, and then work on something else. And then you come back and you go, oh, now I know exactly what this meal needs. It just needs a little bit more of this, and I need to add some cheese or whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, the project comes together. So I definitely do think there's that value in stepping away. So that's where I was going to disco.
Yeah, I mean, some of our greatest minds, Albert Einstein, and they would take walks every day as a way to be creative and problem solve and come up with ideas. And, that's kind of also why I think PE class is important, because it gives us a time to exercise our kids' minds in a way that could be really helpful to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Dr. House would always throw that ball, and then all of a sudden, something would happen, and someone would say something, and then all of a sudden he's cured it. So, yes.
All right. So, the question on the table, the challenge, if you will, is can we name 4 random household objects, and you tell us what you could make with them? So, I think this would be really helpful for low-budget classrooms, because I think Whymaker is a really great idea, but I think we know there's a lot of districts that really aren't pouring out the money and support for these kinds of things. Mealy, you want to think of 2 objects and I'll think of 2 objects?
Yes.
All right. It's Chopped.
Yes. All right, Mealy, you come up with the first one. We'll do a draft style.
Okay. So, I gotta go. It's the classic, MacGyver, but, I'm gonna go paperclip.
Nice. I'm gonna go with, rubber bands.
Okay. So now I've got to take something that's not usual like that. And so I am going to say, a colander.
Colander.
Yes. So we've got paperclip, colander, and what did you say?
Rubber bands.
And rubber bands. Okay.
And sticky tack.
Ooh, and sticky tack. Well, you're going to all the sticky stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
The adhesives. Okay.
Yes.
Hey, you can go to the pantry. Okay. Since we're in Chopped, you can go to the pantry and you can get at least 2 more items out of the pantry that would be in almost any household to incorporate into your thing. Okay.
So with those 4 ingredients, I would ask kids to make a musical instrument.
Nice.
So
nice.
You start at the end by saying, here's what your product needs to do.
So we give design challenges. So design challenges are where they lay out what problem you need to solve.
Okay.
And in this particular case, it's not exactly a problem, but you could
lack of music.
Right, a lack of music.
That is definitely a problem. Yes.
Any person wants to put on a band. So here's their instruments. And then we label with specifications and constraints. So specifications are things your design must have. Constraints are things that limit your design.
Nice.
So in this case, your design must have a rubber band, a paperclip, a colander, and sticky tack.
Right.
And then, something that could limit their design could be the size, the sound, the tone. And then, let kids design and build from there.
Okay.
So, yeah, the specifications and constraints on things like that really help teachers narrow their projects. So kids aren't running in 1,000 different directions doing everything. It really brings it down for them. And in the real world, you have specifications and constraints too on all your projects.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. So it's almost rubric-ish, and I guess it could be stuck into a rubric, all the constraints and the other word too. Specifications. Okay. Yes.
It's a fun word.
It is fun. It is fun. So, speaking of which, and maybe the answer is no to this, I don't know. Is there anything that either in your classroom or your house or whatever, because this all feels very MacGyver-ish, okay? When I start thinking of makerspaces, I really think of MacGyver, and also I think a little bit of Ty Pennington and
The little British bear.
yes, that's no. Ty Pennington is the guy that does. He used to do Extreme Makeover, and now he has something called Tie Breaker.
Oh.
Yes,
I went in a totally different direction. Sorry.
Yes, no, not the bear that makes marmalade sandwiches. I want a marmalade sandwiches. Okay. Anyway, Winnie the Pooh's. I think he's somehow related to Winnie the Pooh, but I don't know how. I think they're in the same universe.
Second cousin. Once.
Yes. But so is there anything in your house, and you can answer this question to Disco, and I'm trying to think of something in my house that I've, or classroom, that you have MacGyvered, okay, before?
Yeah. So I lived in a very tiny, small studio apartment in Midtown Manhattan.
Okay,
for
cool.
years, and everything is MacGyvering when you live in such a little space. You're always MacGyvering ways. Where can I put this? Where can I put that?
Yes.
But one of my favorite home things that I've made was I took a full-length Mura from like the dollar store. Took off the plastic on the outside and got wood cut and built a beautiful frame. And I did all that in my studio apartment in Manhattan.
Cool.
And I absolutely love that piece. It's, I still have it. And in my classroom, one of my favorite, it wasn't even really a project. It was just something we kind of did with those kids that are always hanging around. We put LED strips all around the whiteboard.
Nice.
And we coded it to change colors. And
yeah.
We wanted to make it like a timer. So, 5 minutes. When it turns red, it's 5 minutes. You need to clean up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Around to that. But that was really a fun, simple, easy project that I loved making with my kids.
Okay. Ooh, I'll show you mine. Even though this is not video. But so I'm in my laundry room, which is also my podcast studio, and I make my family refer to it as the podcast studio, even though it is the laundry room.
Take these socks to the podcast studio, all right?
Yes, yeah, exactly. Where's the bleach? It's in the podcast studio. But so I took what are affectionately known as, I guess, egg crate, the foam rubber egg crates that you at one point had on your bed maybe a long time ago, and I had on my bed for way too long. And I took it off there and I spray painted it and stapled it to a cardboard box, and it is the sound absorption stuff in my yes. And then there's a blanket behind me so you can't see the washing machine. That was like a blanket that I had someone in the whatchamacallit.
Really scraping off the veneer here of our
yes,
professionalism.
Yes, and then exactly.
I say from
and then I bought a shower curtain rod, and it goes across between, so it covers up the washer and the dryer, and then a blanket basically that's been sewn and turned into a thick, heavy sound absorbing curtain there. So I've done that. Yeah. Have you done any MacGyvering in your house or classroom, to Disco?
I'm a lazy, bookish man, so if I see a physical activity that has more than 2 steps, I abandon it immediately or pay someone else to do it.
Okay.
So.
Oh, one other one. This is really weird. I owned a Ford Granada a long time ago, and so... Yep.
I did have an old car that was mostly duct tape and string by the end.
Yes.
That's true.
So I bought it from a guy. This was back in my wild and crazy days. And if you're in your wild and crazy days, and if you can find someone that has a mechanic shop next to his house with the full lift and can do that, that's your man. Okay. His name was Preston, and he named one of his kids Boot Scootin' Boogie. But that's that's fairly related. But he sold me this car, right, for $400. And he's like, and the car was 15, 18 years old at the time. And he's like, this car, 2 things. He said, first of all, the door is been caved in. That's why it's so cheap, because the insurance company totaled it. And so when you open up the door, you had to take this thing and you had to flick this thing so that when you shut it again, it would actually latch. It was all messed up. And it had a carburetor. So how a carburetor works normally is it opens and closes depending on how much air a car needs to run. and it has a sensor and does the things. But this was old school. And so what we had to do is pull up in the hood. There was a curler, a hair curler that was stuck in the carburetor. So he's like, okay, this needs to be in when you crank up the car so it can get air to first start up. And then once it cranks up, you go and you take the curler out and you put it like in your pocket and keep it in the car and the car will run. And then when the next time you start it up, you have to put the curler back in the carburetor.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I drove that car for about 4 or 5 months.
I think I know 3 jokes that start that way.
Hey, unprofessionals. This here's another one of them there commercials. Okay, it's for a good friend, Alex Pimentel. Yeah, he used to be a math teacher. Now he does taxes, okay? You want your taxes done by a math teacher. You want to make sure it's done right. Just like those other things you have math teachers do when you struggle with, have a math teacher do your taxes. Or if you are a math teacher and you just don't feel like doing it, you just send it on to him, all right? His prices are reasonable, starting at $75. He can do all 50 states. I live in Arizona, but I work in Oklahoma, okay? Who are you, King Tut? But anyway, sorry, Steve Martin fans. But well, it's an old reference, going back to the 70s for some of you guys. You want to get your taxes done, but you don't feel like doing them. So you go to PimentelGarcia.com. The connection's in the show notes down there. You just go down to the show notes, you click on that, it takes you to the website, you connect with Alex there. He does your taxes for you, gets them done lickety-split. All right? So that's what you need to do. So thank you guys. Thank you for supporting a teacher who is trying to go out and get a little business started. We appreciate you. And now, back to the wonderful show.
I'm also curious, Liz, so, I mean, you've done a lot of these projects in your classrooms, and you've talked to a lot of teachers about these projects. Have you gotten any feedback or like seen any, like, if you could make a museum of the most like impressive stuff that students have pumped out?
Ooh, yeah.
Like, can you think of anything that like students created for a particular project that just blew you away?
So what we focus on is the process, not the product. So
Okay.
we're always super excited about how we go through the process to get to an end result. And your end result doesn't be perfect, but there have been some projects that have been really great. I mean, it's actually more of the story. So one year I was teaching robotics, and all of a sudden in walks 6 kids that just arrived here yesterday from China, and they speak Mandarin only.
All 6 of them? They were like sextuplets?
I think it was like family, cousins, friends, the whole village.
Wow, neat.
Uprooted to our neighborhood. Wow. Okay. So they speak no English, but they are so excited to be doing robotics.
Yeah.
And, this whole time I'm speaking English. I don't know Mandarin. Still don't.
Shame on you. Anyway, go ahead.
They're building, they're creating, and I'm teaching and they're doing, and after a couple of days, I noticed them coming up to me and going, wheel, bigger, wheel.
Oh.
And so they're picking up the terminology.
Nice.
By physically doing the things.
Yes.
And, and then we get their vocabulary got even more advanced. Needs more torque. And the fact that they knew those words because I was saying them, I was demonstrating them, they were practicing with them.
Right.
It was, they would come running to my classroom to do stuff. And I mean, their robot was just great, like everyone else's. And, it's stories like that I just wish we could put in a museum and highlight.
Yeah.
For everyone to see how great hands-on learning can be for all sorts of kids.
That's cool. That's cool.
And do you have any like favorite prompts that you like to give or that you've seen be really successful to motivate kids?
Yeah, it's a lot of.
Or does it really not matter about the prompt?
Yeah, it's more about making them excited about it, right? So why should you be interested in this? Why is this important to you? How does it connect to your life? Where are you seeing something like this in your world?
What problem does it solve, or what does it fix?
What problem does it solve? Who is this helping? Particularly with girls in STEM, something that we know works really well is having girls create projects that help someone or something. So girls, designing like hurricane relief shelters or things for animals, or girls like to help, and STEM careers are great places for girls to go to help in a really tangible way. So when we work with girls, we really try to focus on these pieces that connect to humans or animals or the environment.
That's awesome.
And before we get to the funny stories, which I think we're going to get to in just a minute here, so some people who are now interested and going to want some help. And so what do you have to offer to them? Like what can they expect? And I know it's probably different with COVID now, because I'm guessing when you did like PD in person, did you bring like colanders and paper clips and ticky tack and all this kind of stuff and have them make stuff? And so, but you still have offered PD, I assume, only it's virtually. So
we actually send maker kits now to schools that we're doing PD with. So each teacher will get a box full of all the stuff I would have brought to their training. And they get it mailed to them, and they get super excited about the training.
It's like an Avon box, like the moment they open it, now they have to pay for it.
Yes. I was going to say, do you have a subscription service? Can I get a maker box every month?
So that we don't do subscription services for adults. We would love to. I just don't. There's so many companies that do that, that, do it really well.
Yeah.
So we work with lots of great product companies. We sell lots of great products that, as a teacher, I've used in my classroom. I understand the value of it. And I love directing people to them. We also have gotten into sending kits for kids. So if your school is running like a virtual STEM night, we'll make a box of stuff for projects, send that to all your students, and then you hop on Zoom with them and you go through the lesson plan that we provide for you. And you have like families doing STEM projects virtually. And those are just so great for kids to see their friends and do stuff with their families and all be doing the same thing. So we have 90 boxes outside ready to ship out next week.
Wow.
And so this is something that if someone wanted to do just as an individual teacher, they can do it, or they could do it as a school or as a district, and you meet all of those needs.
Yeah, you could do whatever you need. We're here to support you. We'll make it work.
That's so cool. Like, my mind is racing right now, because I'm thinking, so many times, especially in English class, I focus on what's going to be the product, right? What are they going to do, right? Are you going to write an essay? Are you going to write a summary? Or, what specifically are you going to do? But if we phrase the question as, here's a problem, how can you solve it? And get them to be creative about it, then they can kind of write in whatever way that they feel most comfortable with.
Right.
Right. Really? The idea of communication is your ultimate goal. Right. How can we help our kids communicate well?
Right.
And, that's different for every kid. Yeah. And how do we get them engaged in learning and communicating well? You can do that by asking them to solve a problem.
Right. For the English, I don't know what to school I go there, but the first ones that come to my mind is like, write something that's going to make somebody cry, or write something that's going to make somebody laugh. You know what I mean? And so it can be fiction. It can be a true story. It can be, a poem. It could be an essay. It can be based on facts. There's so many different ways that they can go with that. And then, but the process is that they're going to go through and learn how to do that. That's, cool. And then obviously, I guess we gotta have, that's our specifications, but then we have to put what's the other one? Specifications and Constraints. Okay. Yeah.
We're actually, we're just about to do a project in my classes where we're going to have all the students, we're taking a break from like the heavy, like articles and essays and all of that. We're going to have them like create a curated museum where they're going to just find artifacts of the things that got them through COVID. So what helped you survive this year? And they're going to write it up and describe it however they want to.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I've been seeing teachers ask kids to take the physical stuff that has helped you survive or that like replicates you, shows who you are, and make a monument or a statue.
Nice.
So, like you see these like really funny things like hockey jerseys and like, you know, pet hamsters and like this cool, like artistic looking monument. And kids are taking pictures of it and then writing about that. And that's making, that's empathy. That's, you know, there's communication there. There's self-reflection and that social emotional learning we talk about a lot, mindfulness. So
we're going to call it a heap of hope.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah, that's why they pay me the big bucks.
Yes. Good job. Okay. Oh, okay. So, now we want to hear funny stories from the world of PD or makerspaces, I guess. So what's something that just was crazy that when people want to hear, like you want to tell a funny story at like a dinner or when you're on, you know, some Zoom, I guess now. But you go, let me tell you about, you'll never believe the time that blah 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 happened. So go ahead.
Yeah, I have a cute story.
That works. Yeah, funny. We love cute.
So we're doing this PD where we sent Maker kids to a school of teachers in New Jersey, and we're on Zoom. We're doing the whole thing, and all of a sudden I see on this one lady's screen this little hand come across and grab something.
Nice.
And then a couple seconds later, I see this another little hand come across and grab something, and I'm like. And then the next thing you know, the kid is like right here, like making, and then the kid just starts talking to all of us and just telling us what they're creating and how they're making it and why they love this and how it's connected to their other thing. And I'm like, my job here is done.
Fantastic.
Clearly, this is exciting for kids. So
yes.
Just go with
That's
it.
cool.
And that was just like a really heartwarming thing that happened, you know, in the dark days of like June last year. That really made me happy, and I think made everybody on the call happy and engaged. And then kids say the darnest things.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, how crazy do you want to hear stories?
As crazy as you're willing to go. We don't no
PG-13.
Yeah, PG-13. Yeah. So.
Okay. So in a makerspace, we have tons and tons of like hands-on materials and crafty things, pipe cleaners and glue sticks and scissors. But one thing I would never have is glitter. It just is like too much. And one of the girls must have said, why doesn't Miss Gallo ever have glitter? And the 6th grader goes, because glitter is the herpes of the classroom. A little bit, and it gets everywhere.
Nice.
An 11-year-old.
Nice. Good stuff. It really.
The 3 kids around are going, "What's herpes?" And
yes.
You say it's lunchtime.
It went over all their heads, but I was just like,
they'll put it together later.
Who did you hear that from?
Yes. Yes. It's a thing.
Something similar happened in a classroom. So we were talking about the hero's journey, right? It's one thing I like to do at like the end of the school year, like if it's after finals and like the kids are kind of burned out. I'm like, look, here's the hero's journey. It's something cool. We're going to watch a fun superhero movie and break it down, and we're going to call it education. So this year we were I showed them Guardians of the Galaxy. And the kids really liked it. It's a fun movie. It's great. And there's one dirty joke in it, but it goes over all of their heads, except for this one girl who got it. And the joke was that Chris Pratt says, was talking about a spaceship. And he said, yeah, because if you walk in with a black light, it'll look like a Jackson Pollock.
Nice.
And I'd forgotten earlier that year I'd taught them about art, and I explained who Jackson Pollock was.
Yes.
And so one of the students goes, oh, I get it, because Jackson Pollock. And immediately the kids in the front row went, shh, and they just kept watching.
Oh, that's good.
So I was happy for that.
That's good.
That's amazing.
Oh, that reminds me of Miss Laskin in 7th grade, when I was in 7th grade. And, okay, so just, you have to help me out here. There's 2 female authors that I guess sometimes get tied together, and one of them is Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and I don't remember the other one. Is there one that's kind of associated with her that was like contemporary or writes in a similar style?
Elizabeth Barrett Browning?
Yeah.
She gets confused for Shakespeare a lot, honestly.
It wasn't Shakespeare. It was another female author. Okay. Just make one up, and we'll say if it was her. Who? I don't know. It wasn't Sylvia Plath. And it wasn't Judy Blume. So those are the only other two female authors I know. I mean, and that wasn't Nora Ephron.
The Austen and the Brontes. She was.
Maybe it was Emily Bronte. Maybe it was. Let's say it was Emily Bronte. Sure. I don't know. We'll go with that. So
Dickinson, I guess.
Maybe Dickinson. I don't know. And I'm in 7th grade, so I'm just like I guess like a hormonal young lad. So someone in the class says something someone says like a quote, or the teacher says a quote, and someone says, isn't that like Emily Bronte? And the teacher says, no, it's Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And then the kid says, well, it's the same thing. And then the English teacher goes, not to Mr. Browning, it's not. And I was like, oh my goodness, my 7th grade teacher is like making innuendo here. And I lost it. I just laughed and laughed and laughed. And the kids are looking at me like, what is so funny to you? And I'm like, oh my God, not to Mrs. Browning. And they're like, you mean sex? Did she mean sex? I'm like, yes. Oh, good times. Oh, Miss Laskin. I don't know if you're still around, but yes, that was a lot of fun.
I have another funny kid story.
Go for it.
Yes. Okay, so my students knew that I lived in New York City when I was teaching in the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
And some mornings I would come in, I would buy my coffee instead of having it in my refillable water bottle, right? And one day, one student said to me, we were talking and I was like, I'm so tired today. And he was like, yeah, Miss Gallo, we know, because when you have that coffee cup, it's because you like to party. And I was like,
nice.
Referring to the fact that he thought I was hungover, which I wasn't.
Right.
And
wow.
I was like, what? Another 7th grader? And I was like, why do you know any of this context here?
Yes.
Do you even understand what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that you never know. It will. I mean,
did the other kids react?
It was just a private conversation with me and him. Like, no one else was around. It was like, we know you live in New York City and you like to party. And I was like,
so you wonder, like, okay, is there something going on at home with you? Is there someone partying at your house, or is it just something you saw on like TV and you're just like being silly? Yeah.
I'm thinking like all the bar mitzvahs that they're going to.
Oh yeah, they get down at the bar mitzvah. Definitely.
Is that what does he think I'm going to bar mitzvahs on like a Tuesday night? Like what?
Yes. Maybe that's what he thinks you're doing. I don't know.
Hitting that Manischewitz pretty hard. I get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a student who, for Valentine's Day rolled around and he got, the heart-shaped boxes of chocolates for all the teachers.
Yes.
Right?
Oh.
And all of them had like a different design on them. And he handed me mine and it had a beer mug on it. I was like, why do I get the beer mug? He's like, because you got that belly.
Wow.
Nice. Wow. Okay.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yes. Yes. I always do wonder. It's funny because I filter myself, like, to my students, because I've seen the Grateful Dead 13 times in 6 different states. And it was a big part of my life for about 5-7 years, but I'm always apprehensive about sharing that, because it pretty much like
there's some connotation there. Yeah.
There's, you know what I mean? Like in 2020 and 21, 90% of the kids have no idea who the Grateful Dead is anyway, so it doesn't mean anything. But there's always that one one kid in the class is like, oh, Mr. Mealy, the Grateful Dead, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, because there's a girl in my class this past semester, she like Rolling Stones things all around her room when she would have her camera on. I'm like, yeah, so I saw the Rolling Stones in '89 on the steel wheels. She's like, oh my god, da, da, da. And I said, yeah, so, and da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, and I did see the Grateful Dead. And she's like, oh, and I'm like, okay, but but it's kind of like, but anyway, alrighty, Liz, are you good? Did you anything else you wanted to share to plug or whatever?
Yeah, I could just share that, at Whymaker, we're here to help support teachers with hands-on, creative ideas, brainstorming. We have a great online course for teachers to just hop on, learn how to create these engaging, thoughtful projects. So it's the ultimate guide to maker education. So check that out on our website.
Cool.
And reach out to me at any time. I love meeting new teachers. I love making friends.
Oh, yes. And we'll put the link. And if they just Google Whymaker, are you at the top of the list? Cool.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's a cool website, yeah, because you got the courses, you have kits people can order, you have a blog there. There's a lot of stuff on that website. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming. We had an absolute blast. And as we say at the end of every episode, stay unprofessional. Awesome. Thank you so much, Liz. That was great.
Thanks for listening, Unprofessionals. We hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe. Here's your exit ticket for today. Have you created anything fun for your classrooms or done any fun Whymakers? Please leave us a comment on whatever platform you're using or find us on Twitter @UnProCast. Let us know. We want to hear. We want to tell your story. Next week, we have musician Kendra Butler. So enjoy this piece by Kendra Butler.